Hey y'all, today I'm going to be talking about catfishing on True Crime Talk and not the catfish in this picture. I'm going to be talking about catfishing as in internet scams. There have been a lot of people in the news recently who have either did harm to themselves or lost a lot of money due to being scammed on the internet. So I'm going to talk about catfishing today. Catfishing is the act of impersonating someone else online using the pictures and information of others or just creating a totally fictional identity. Catfishers, also known as cybercriminals, create fake accounts using fake identities. The cybercriminal then will message people online while pretending to be someone else. The cybercriminal gets to know you and may ask for money, photos, or personal information. How to know if you're being catfish, some warning signs are they avoid video calls, they avoid meeting you in person, they ask you for money. That's a big red flag. If anybody asks you for money online, especially like a potential romantic partner, don't do it. They're scamming you. Good people don't ask people they've never met before for money online unless it's some kind of charity or something that you can verify. Just don't do it. Don't give out money or personal information online. Catfishers also may use stolen pictures. In other words, the pictures that you see on their social media accounts may not be their real pictures. They may have stolen them from other social media accounts. Catfishers may ask you for explicit or X rated pictures or videos. Never send anybody X rated videos of yourself or X rated pictures of yourself unless you're absolutely sure of what you're doing and what the consequences could be. Just like if somebody asks you for money, if somebody online asks you for X rated pictures, don't do it. Do not do it unless you understand the consequences. And by the consequences, I mean one, that once your pictures get out on the internet, they're no longer private pictures. They're for everybody in the world to see because that's just how the internet is. And also, they may be used to blackmail you. So unless you're prepared or you don't care about those types of consequences, don't do it. Don't trust anybody like that. Because if even if you know somebody and you're doing it willingly and knowingly, if things go bad in your relationship, they can then turn around and use those pictures against you or share them with others without your knowledge or consent. And also, catfishers will ask for personal information like your driver's license number, bank account numbers, credit card numbers, and stuff like that, home address, and other your date of birth, other identifying information so that they can use your identity to scam other people or just to scam you to get access to your money and social media accounts and so forth. So that is what catfishing is. Catfishing can come in many forms online. I'm going to read a couple of news reports to give you an idea of all the different forms catfishing can take. Okay, this is a news article from April of 2021. It says a 15-year-old boy is dead after being targeted by evil catfishing scam. A 15-year-old boy has taken his own life after becoming the victim of an internet blackmail scam. His father said in a lengthy Facebook post he is going through one of the worst things a parent can go through after discovering his son Riley Basford, 15, was cyberbullied by strangers. Father Darren Basford said police told him the very sick individuals had blackmailed Riley on Facebook before he took his own life. Riley's mother, Mary Rodee, called the decision a split second of madness in an interview with WWNY TV. He died in his hometown of Postham in New York State on March 30th. Miss Rodee said Riley had befriended a girl on Facebook who convinced him to send embarrassing photos of himself. Riley was then told the photos would be made public unless he handed over $3,500 of U.S. currency. And this is a picture of the young 15-year-old man who committed suicide over being catfished. His parents are now urging others to beware and protect their children from the dangers of organized cyberbullying. My sweet, sweet Riley, who I have always known as the happiest kid, had a light up the room smile, fell prey to these awful people, Miss Bassford wrote on Facebook. He friended an attractive girl who he thought was a real person and started a relationship with her. At 15, he was easily manipulated by these people, and they sent photos and asked for him to send them back. Of course, they escalated to very personal pictures, and then they had him. These evil, sick people then threatened to send these photos to all of his friends and family and to post them on other social media platforms unless he sent them $3,500 to an app they sent him. Miss Basford said he doesn't want this to happen to it says him, I guess it means Mr. Basford said he doesn't want this to happen to another family and wants parents to know the dangers of lurking online. I want to figure out how this devil was able to prey on my child in such a short time, she told WWNY TV. On Monday night, hundreds of mourners turned out to remember Riley and post him. The teen, who was known by his nickname Riser, was described by his dad as an energetic, charismatic kid who just loved people. We all, as parents, assume that of everything out there, Facebook is safe for our kids. Sadly, of all of social media, I did, Mr. Basford said. I am making this post and I am going to make it my mission to inform parents and kids that no social media is safe. Sick individuals out there use all kinds of social media outlets to do sick, evil things. To all the parents out there, warn, teach, talk to your kids about who they are friending on social media and if they really know them. So this was an article from 2021. This young man unalived himself after being scammed. Just a 15-year-old boy. He, saw a pretty picture of a young girl who was close to his age online and got to talking with this person who he thought was a young girl, and it, turned out to be an adult cybercriminal, a catfisher, and like a professional catfisher. So that's just one story, and here's another one from February of 2023. Imagine the panic. A teen was catfished, extorted, and took his own life. Now his father is speaking out. On November 30th, Walker Montgomery, who had just turned 16 and gotten his driver's license, went hunting with his dad, drove home, worked out in the family barn, had dinner with his family, and prayed with his mother before he went to bed. Sometime after midnight on December 1st, the Mississippi sophomore took his own life after a random sextortion encounter on Instagram with someone who catfished him, then demanded money to keep from outing him. His father, Brian, is now going public with the tragedy to warn teens and parents alike of the danger that lurks within social media apps. You wake up one day and life is never going to be the way it used to be, Brian Montgomery said. The emotional roller coaster has been real, as you can imagine, but my mission now is for God to be glorified in what we do. I want people to see that God's power is greater than the power of the evil in this world. He has a plan, and I want people to see that. Around midnight, Walker was direct messaged by someone posing as a female wanting to participate in a sexual encounter. The person on the other end of the encounter recorded the episode and then threatened to send all of his family and friends copies of the event if he didn't pay them $1,000. After 2 hours of Walker explaining that he didn't have any money and then begging the person not to release the images and video, he told them he was going to kill himself. According to Brian, the catfishers told him to go ahead and kill himself because his life is already over. The conversation ended there around 2 a.m. The details of that conversation came to light nearly a month later. Walker's phone had been turned over to local law enforcement and then the FBI, which dumped all of the information to be able to turn back over to Walker's parents. The IP address of the hacker has been tracked to Nigeria, and Brian said the FBI is still hopeful of being able to make an arrest. It's so random, Brian said. It's like he was walking down the street and ran into a serial killer. What Brian wants now is to get information out that no matter how desperate things might seem to a teenager, there are always options. Walker thought his whole life was over. Everything that he had achieved was over, that everyone would shun him, that his mother would have to view that video. In fact, he thought his mother had already received the video, and that was the first thing she would see when she woke up, Brian said. Of course, I wish Walker would have avoided that situation altogether. But the reality is, once that happened, he had a perception of how people would see him after that. He couldn't bear the thought of that. Brian wants people to think about their own lives and what it would be like to have their worst ever moment exposed to the entire world. That, he said, is what 16-year-old Walker was dealing with by himself in the middle of the night. Not that everyone would have done what Walker did, but you can imagine the panic that Walker had. All of us can relate to that, Brian said. He said he is still dealing with a lot of anger and hate toward the people who pushed his son beyond his limits that night. There is a person on this planet that was on the other end of that keyboard, Brian said. That person is real. That person is living today, breathing, walking, doing something as you and I are talking. He said his anger leads him to wanting to meet this person before the authorities can do so. When I learned the conversation between Walker and this person and how they did not let the pressure off and incited him to do what he did, it really took me down a road of what I can do personally, Brian said. He said God then kept opening doors that led to him having a nationally televised interview Monday to talk about his family's tragedy. He wants to make the scam public to parents and teens to further know the dangers of how an encounter like this from social media can impact their children. Understand there are evil traps set out for you on your phone, Brian said. There are things out there that are out to get you. Be vigilant. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. He said if it's someone you don't know on social media, don't engage with them. If you do fall into the trap, realize that the next day is not as dark as you might think it is, he said. If Walker had woken up the next day and all that those people said had come true and what he believed would happen, that people would not have wanted to see his face ever again. Man, we would have picked up and moved somewhere if I thought I could have my son back. Please understand that there are people out there that love you that much, Brian said. He also sent a message to teens to accept guidance from parents, which is a message he will give to a church youth group on Wednesday. Don't let your kids go to bed with their phone, Brian said. Don't let them go to the bathroom with their phone. Don't let them be alone with their phone in private places. Whether it's pornography or social media or what happened to Walker, there are so many threats that are out there. Brian just hopes that parents and teens can learn from this experience. I just want kids to know that your parents may ask you to do some things. Don't fight them, Brian said. They love you. They are just trying to protect you. Let them guide you in life some. I get that it's natural to resist as a teenager, but resist that some and let your parents help guide you. Trust me when I say that if your phone is in your parents' bedroom when you go to bed, it will be there when you wake up. And this is a picture of his son right here. Just a young man who had everything to live for. There's his family. There's no reason in the world why this young man should be deceased right now other than that he was scammed and he didn't see any way out. Every year, billions of dollars are sent from American citizens to cybercriminals, also known as catfishers. It's a billion-dollar industry, billions of dollars. And that's just, from America alone. Americans who are cyber victims of cyber criminals and most of the cyber criminals are in countries like Nigeria and places like that. They can be anywhere in the world. They can even be right here in the USA. And what they do, they create these fake accounts using fake or stolen pictures, and they're not really who they say they are, and they actually get involved in some of them long-term online relationships with people, but they're not real. They're just like professional scammers. There are actually like call centers and internet cafes in countries like Nigeria and other places, and this is how they make their living. This is what they do. And they scam people all over the world, mostly like in America, Great Britain, Europe, and stuff, wherever they can get money from. So always be vigilant when you're online. If you get friend requests or especially personal messages, don't trust what that person is saying. Don't assume that they're being real, that they are who they say they are. Always assume that they are not who they say they are. You can't really trust anybody online unless you specifically know them in real life, in person. And even if you know somebody in real life, somebody else could be pretending to be that person online. Let's take like a celebrity, for instance. Like if you're a real big fan of a certain celebrity and you join their Facebook page or their Instagram page or their Twitter page and you get a personal message from them, do not assume that it is that celebrity that is contacting you. So much money is wasted by Americans every year on these Nigerian romance scams and other scams, investment scams, and so forth, Bitcoin scams. Just be wise with your money and be wise with your heart. Don't fall for it. Remember, some catfish warning signs are if they avoid video phone calls, live video phone calls with you where you can see them in person to know what they really look like. That's a warning sign because the technology today, there is no reason why anybody with a cell phone cannot video chat with you. If they avoid meeting you in person, if they say that they live overseas or they work on an oil rig, that's one big line that scammers use from Nigeria. Don't believe them. If they ask you for money, whoa, that's a big red flag. I don't know why anybody would want to send anybody they didn't know money online, especially like for a female, for a man to ask for money online who you've never met in person, who has never done anything for you. I mean, why would you want to send somebody you don't know money? Keep your money. Keep it, spend it on yourself or your family or grandkids if you have grandkids, or look for somebody in person to form a relationship with. Never send money. That's a big red flag. I personally, I don't get that part. I don't know why anybody would want to send a stranger money who they've never met, but that's just me. I was raised different, I guess. It's just giving a man money who I didn't even know or wasn't related to. It's just not something I would do. And if they use stolen pictures, there are ways you can go online to check to see if a picture has been stolen or not. And I'll leave a link below this video to help you out. And definitely, if somebody you don't know, have never met, or anybody you do know or are in a relationship with asks for explicit or X-rated pictures or video, don't do it unless you 100% understand the consequences. And that means that you're willing, it's what you want, you're willing, and you don't care what happens to those pictures or video in the future. And if you have kids, teenagers, make sure that they understand how catfishers work and scammers work, and that they could be harassed or bullied online, and that they could be scammed into thinking that somebody's going to, use their explicit videos and pictures against them. When in reality, the scammers are just trying to make money off the picture, so they'll try to blackmail people to try to get money for those photos if you send them to somebody. So just in the best case scenario, don't do that. Teach your kids not to do that. But make sure that they understand if they ever did something stupid, they make a stupid mistake, that it's really not the end of the world. And the scammers may not even really do what they say, like sending it to all their friends and stuff. That's just they're just in the business to make money. They just want to make money. So they'll use those pictures and videos however they can to make money. If they can't blackmail somebody into sending them money, they'll probably just try to sell them to other, perverts or porn sites online and stuff like that to make money. All they care about is making money. And if anybody asks for your personal information like date of birth, bank account numbers, driver's license info online who you've never met, don't give it to them. Just don't give it to them. And these catfishers, as I call them, who catfish or scam people online, they can work from Facebook. They use Instagram. They use Twitter. They use all the social media accounts that you can think of. There are some on YouTube. There just every video and social media account that's out there. There are scammers. So always beware. Save your money or spend your money wisely. Spend it on yourself rather than sending it overseas to scammers. Don't fall for it. Don't do it. And I'm going to leave links below where there's more information. I mean, there's whole YouTube channels about this stuff. And I just felt compelled to do this little video about it because it upsets me that young people are taking their own lives over this nonsense. And it's all just a scam. And, you know, I know it's embarrassing for young people and they think, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But really, in today's world, adults do this stupid stuff and willingly do this stupid stuff. And, so it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Even if you make a dumb mistake of sending out personal photos or videos of yourself, it's not the end of the world. If somebody threatens to blackmail you, oh well, it's not illegal for you to do that. It's illegal for people to scam people. It's illegal for adults to have pornography of underage kids, but it is not illegal for kids who think they're talking to other kids to have, you know, private videos and pictures among each other. So, if you're a scam victim, don't be afraid to speak up to your parents or to law enforcement. Or if somebody scams you and you're just too embarrassed to tell your parents or law enforcement, just tell them to basically, you know, go away. Just block them. Don't worry about if they're going to send your picture out or not. And if they do, don't even worry about it then, but worry about it, you can explain it to your parents then. Don't worry about, it's nothing worth taking your life over. It's just, technology can be used for good and technology can be used for bad. And the way things are now with, technology and the internet, the number one way that scammers are scamming people is through the internet. And there's lots of ways for them to scam people. And there's lots of people who fall for it because a lot of people just have good hearts and trusting hearts, and they don't assume that everybody's bad. Not everybody's into true crime like I am, so that's probably why I wouldn't trust somebody up front anyway. But some people have different life experiences, and some people just have good hearts and kind hearts, and they trust people who they communicate with online, even no matter what they say, no matter how outrageous their lies might be. I'm sure maybe if you ever seen episodes of Dr. Phil, he's done episodes where people are romance scammed and send thousands or even like $1 million to people overseas who aren't really who they say they are. And they think they're in a relationship and they're not. So just always be careful online, but most importantly, teach your kids to be careful online and monitor what they're doing online. There's no reason for teenagers or kids to be hurting themselves over being catfished, and there's no reason for our country to allow Americans to be scammed by people overseas. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like people from overseas can scam Americans all they want over the internet without even having to cross our borders, and our government doesn't do enough, in my opinion, to stop it or to get the word out to Americans, because still every day so many Americans are being scammed. So educate yourself and educate your children. So that's my rant on catfishing.